to say something else about that. This girl's got some pipes, hey? So when I was a ministerial student way back in the 90s, we had to write a term paper as part of our final exam. And at that time, I was both a student of Ernest Holmes and New Thought, of course, Science of Mind. I was also a member of the 12 Steps. And I had studied the writings of Dale Carnegie, who wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. So my final term paper, I explored the idea about how all these three really informative and transformative movements were really teaching something very similar to one another. For instance, from the 12-step program, we know one day at a time, right? This statement has helped and allowed millions of people to walk through addictions and compulsions and difficulties. Just, if I can just make it through today, if I can just make it through today. Now, our founder, Ernest Holmes, didn't have anything quite as pithy as one day at a time, but he did say this. He said, life is for us today. Today is God's day, and we must extract from it what of life we are to live. The soul that learns to live in the great gladness of today will never weary of life, but will find that he is living in an eternal here and now. So Holmes talking about this moment, this day right here. And then Dale Carnegie, in his book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, encourages readers to live in day-tight compartments. Living in day-tight compartments. In other words, keeping our attention on what's going on today rather than focusing on what happened yesterday or what's going to happen sometime in the future. And the analogy that he used that has stayed with me all these years was an ocean liner that has watertight compartments. Now, the idea behind this is that somehow if water breaches the hull of the ship, the areas that have been breached can be cut off from the rest of the ship, thereby avoiding the ship sinking. Of course, it didn't work for the Titanic, but the idea was there. So to use this analogy in our own lives, that means that when we allow the regrets and the disappointments and the unrequited desires and the resentments from our past seep into our present, it makes us out of balance. On the other hand, it also means that when we're put all of our focus and all of our energy on the future, whether it's through worrying or whether it's through desire, we're also, again, allowing that to seep into our present and keeping us out of balance. But when we live one day at a time, or for today, or in day-tight compartments, we are living in the only time there really is, which is right now, the present, this moment now. Because the present, this moment, this is where creation happens. As Dr. Holmes said, this is God's time. This is where it starts. This is where it happens. The past is past, future hasn't happened yet. All we have is this moment. All we have is this day, this time. Henry David Thoreau said, "You must live in the present. Launch yourself on every wave. Find your eternity in each moment. Fools stand on their island of opportunities and look toward another land. There is no other land. There is no other life than this." Now, this does not mean, folks, that we don't have memories from the past, fond or maybe not so fond, or that we don't dream about the future. Of course we do. It means that we don't allow them to be so all-consuming that they seep into our present in such a way that it sinks us. Is this making sense to anybody?
Totally.
Yeah, me too, me too. This talk was for me today, by the way. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Because, you know, raise your hand if you have known someone who has been so focused on the events and the people from the past that they can't move forward in their life. Yeah, right? They're stuck, right? They cannot carry all of that baggage, so they're just stuck in one place. Now raise your hand also if you know, if somebody who is so obsessed with the future, so obsessed with when this happens, that they're not living in today. Again? Yeah. Or maybe it's you. But what we understand about how life works, and I'm saying life like capital, with a capital L, is that what we are thinking about, what we are doing today, is giving birth to what will happen tomorrow. What we are thinking about and doing today gives birth to what will happen tomorrow. Just like what we are experiencing today is a result of what we were thinking and doing yesterday. That makes sense? Understand? This moment is the moment of creation. Let me tell you what else Dale Carnegie said. He said, one of the most tragic things I know about human nature is that all of us tend to put off living. We're all dreaming of some magical rose garden over the horizon instead of enjoying the roses that are blooming outside our windows today. Holy moly! Carnegie goes on to say that the best way to prepare for the tomorrow that we're all dreaming about is to concentrate all our intelligence, all our enthusiasm, and all of our creativity on doing today well. That's the way to prepare for the future. When we live in this moment, we give our all to this moment, we're setting the stage, we're laying the groundwork for tomorrow's moments, and on and on. And not only is this a nice way to live, it's also very spiritually sound. The master teacher Jesus in his Lord's Prayer said, give us this day our daily bread. He didn't say, oh no, I have to eat tomorrow or yesterday's bread and it's stale. And he didn't say, oh, it's pretty dry out there and lately, and then suppose there's another drought, and then how will I ever get my bread, and suppose I lose my job, how will I ever eat again? And he didn't say, oh, today's bread is just so-so. I can't wait until tomorrow's bread, because it's going to be so fabulous, it's new and improved. No, he said, give us this day our daily bread. Because he knew that today's bread is the only kind that there is, metaphorically. He understood and was teaching one day at a time, living in tight compartments. Now, not only is this a good way to live our lives all the time, it's a very effective tool for dealing with something difficult or something unexpected. When we learn to compartmentalize different areas of our lives, we can continue to function, we continue to do our life, even when worry and concern and anxiety threaten to sink us. Because when we compartmentalize, do you understand what I mean by that? Put something in a compartment of our mind, like it's in a watertight compartment, like in an ocean liner. Even when we do have those areas of concern, we can still continue to function and do what's right in front of us. That doesn't mean that we are stuffing or refusing to deal with the situation. It's important for you to know. It simply means that we are not allowing it to consume us completely. I'm going to give you an example. Earlier this week, I received some pretty distressing news. I'm not going to go into the details about it because it's been resolved, but at the time, it was very concerning to me. And even though I felt knocked off center by it, I still had to function. I still had to do my job. I still had to do my life. In fact, the news came 1 minute before I had a counseling session walking in my door who was having a crisis that was even greater than mine. So what I had to do was compartmentalize my situation so that I could be there and be present for this person who was coming in for me to help them deal with their crisis. In other words, I had to put my concerns into a section of my consciousness and for that time not give it any energy. And the truth was, at that moment, there was nothing I could do about it. You understand what I mean? So often our stress and concern is like, but we can't do anything about it right then. So why are we focusing on it? So I had to put it back here. And not keep it, not allow it to disturb me so that I could not be there for my client. And then it went on. I had to teach class that night. So I had to keep the worry and the concern and the anxiety at bay, compartmentalizing it. I was choosing instead to focus on teaching my class on meditation. What better class to teach, right? And then the next day, what happened was I was then able to take steps to remedy my situation. They were in front of me, so I did them. And then when I needed to focus again later on, I put that situation behind me and I did what was in front of me to do in my life. Now, does that mean that negative and worrisome thoughts didn't creep into my mind and my activities? Not at all. Of course they did. But because I was practicing about being mindful, being in the moment, I just kept reminding myself to put it back, to put it back, to put it back until I was able to construct something constructive with it. Another one of the most brilliant 12-step slogans, you know, there are so many of them, one day at a time is one of them, but one of them is do the next indicated thing. Have you ever heard that one? Do the next indicated thing. In other words, instead of freaking out and I don't know what to do and what's going to happen 10 years from now, what's going to happen a week from now, blah, 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 do the next thing that appears, the next indicated thing, and then the next, and then the next. Now, I wish I could tell you that I do this all the time. Like everybody, I get freaked out, I get wrapped around the axle, I worry about stuff. I love what Charles Schultz said. I've developed a new philosophy. I'm only going to dread one day at a time. So for sure, I'm nothing if not honest with you all. Absolutely, I have spent sleepless nights thinking about the past, worrying about the future. I've let people, I've let situations into my head, I've got the monkey mind chatter going on. However, this week, and this is what I wanted to share with you, this week, when it was important that I keep my wits about me so that I could take care of not only my business, but that of the people that were coming to see me, I found this tool of one day at a time of compartmentalizing, living in day-tight compartments, very effective. And the good news is, this technique doesn't only have to be when you're in a crisis or you're worried. It can also be extremely effective when you're super excited about something and you're having trouble focusing. Like maybe you got a cool trip planned or you got a wedding coming up or something like that. We can drive ourselves crazy with that energy of anticipation, can't we? Yeah? Okay. And haven't you noticed that when you're freaking out about something and you're looking forward to something, doesn't time slow But if we can apply this compartmentalizing technique to other situations, in other words, put our excitement in its own little area, calm the mind, do the next indicated thing, take care of the things that need to be taken care of, and before we know it, then the time is actually here. It's gone by like that. But we didn't suffer because we didn't allow ourselves to live one day at a time, one in day-tight compartments. There's another aspect of this that I wanted to talk about today, and that is taking it into even smaller increments of time. Instead of one day at a time, instead of day-tight compartments, it's 1 hour, even 1 minute at a time. Sometimes if the situation feels so dire or so difficult, all we can do is keep it together for what it feels like 1 minute, or just a very few minutes. Like I'm going to freak out now, but I won't in this exact moment. I might in a minute, but this minute I'm not going to freak out. Yeah? Yeah. The most amazing thing happens when we do this. The minute goes by, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and then we notice that those moments of freak out have passed for that moment. Another example. Personal example. In addition to being a sober alcoholic and drug addict, I've been sober a long time. Longer than some of you have been alive. But even more recent is the discovery that I am a sugar addict. Absolutely. And I'm fine with it now, but in the beginning, giving up sugar was harder than booze and alcohol put together for me. I gave up eating overt sugar almost 10 years ago. When I mean overt sugar, you know, stuff that we love. Yeah. I mean, everything has sugar in it. Ketchup has sugar. Salad dressing has sugar. But I'm talking about the gooey good stuff, right? Gave that up over 10 years ago. And there were times, particularly in the beginning, especially in the beginning, when I had a craving for something sweet so bad, it was overwhelming. Like I said, it was harder than booze and alcohol put together. But I would say to myself, okay, it's 11 o'clock. I won't eat sugar until at least noon. If the craving is still there, then I might eat sugar. But until then, until noon, I'm not going to eat sugar. And then, of course, often, by the time noon rolled around, I was on to other things and I'd forgotten about that immediate craving. But not always. I mean, there were times also when I had to renegotiate my contract, renegotiate my agreement at noon. Okay, 1 o'clock. I won't eat sugar until 1. Okay, it's now 1 o'clock. Okay, let's go till 2. By using that technique, I swear to God, I was able to stick with my guns and keep doing this, and I can honestly tell you that I have not eaten overt sugar in that time. Doing it 1 day at a time, 1 minute at a time, often. Don't anybody tell you it isn't addictive. Because the few times that I have inadvertently had something that has had a lot of sugar in it, it's like, and then afterwards I'm exhausted, like, what the hell just happened? Oh yeah, I ate sugar. Okay. I want to close with an excerpt from something that I remember from my early sobriety days. It comes from Al-Anon, which is another 12-step program. It's not pure science of mind, but it's a good remember about how to live in day-tight compartments, and some of you may recognize this. Just for today, I will try to live through this day only and not tackle my whole life's problems at once. I could do something for 12 hours that would appall me if I felt I had to keep it up for a lifetime. Just for today, I will be happy. This assumes to be true what Abraham Lincoln said, that most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is and not try to adjust everything to my own desires. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will not find fault with anything and not try to improve or regulate anybody except myself. just for today, I will be unafraid. Especially, I will not be afraid to enjoy what is beautiful and to believe that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me. One day at a time, in this moment, in day-tight compartments. Have a beautiful rest of the weekend. I love you, and so it is.